Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the new WBC featherweight champion of the world. It is, of course, the one and only Tiara Brown. Tiara, welcome on the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
No problem. It's my pleasure having you on. So first question for you. Has it sunk in yet? It can take a while for some, for that title to really sink in. It's been a month now exactly. Has it sunk in?
It's crazy because it still hasn't sunk in for me yet. And everyone's calling me the champ. And, I've been getting so much love on social media. I've been on, a different, many different interviews here in my hometown in the news, but it still has not sunk into me yet.
I mean, what will it take? Just more time or?
I think I really don't know because I still feel like I'm in la la land. Like I'm still in such awe and disbelief. I think that's really what it is. Or you know what? It could be the fact that I only took 3 days off of the gym and I got right back into training, even though my coach told me 3 weeks off. So maybe if I take a little time off from training, maybe then it'll feel like reality.
Yeah, because obviously I'm assuming like getting on a long haul flight right after the fight, you just haven't had the time, I guess, to process anything, Tiara.
Yeah, I jumped straight back into training, and I'm also one of the boxing coaches at this local gym. We have about 18 fighters, so I've been on go ever since I landed.
Wow, 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 incredible. But yeah, like we say, exactly a month ago today, you were in Sydney, Australia. You won the split decision over the home fighter, Skye Nicolson. Talk me through the fight just from your perspective. I know that I'm sure you've watched it back. I'm sure you've had time to watch it back.
You know, um, just going into the fight, I knew that it was going to be tough because I was in Australia. Sky is from Australia, and I was the major underdog. I think it was like 500 something underdog. So I knew it was going to be a tough task, but I knew that at the end of the day, I was going to get the job done. And there was at no point of the fight I felt tired or I felt like she was winning a round. I just felt like I was doing what we set out to do which was shut down her game plan.
And obviously the fight itself, I mean, we've never seen a woman really bring it to Nicolson like that. I mean, we've seen Nicolson backed up, sure, in little bits. We've seen her box beautifully off the back foot behind a nice jab, but you really broke through that jab and really unsettled her rhythm. After sharing the ring with her, some people have been quite harsh on social media saying that Tiara has exposed Skye Nicolson. How good do you feel that she was looking back now?
I think that, hmm, I think that honestly, she's good at what she does, right? So since we knew that she's great at going backwards on that back foot, we knew that she was great at watching the clock and running the clock down, and just with that left hook getting out of the way. My coach Ernesto Rodriguez and Rogers Taylor III, we studied Sky for 6 straight weeks, right? So we knew what to do. We knew how to take away her the great things that she does in the ring. We trained how to take it away. And I think ultimately that's what happened. And I don't think it's about exposing Sky. I think it's just the fact that our game plan was to take away her game plan. And that's what we did.
And also, Tiara, in the build up to the fight, the media stuff that I saw, you seemed extremely, extremely confident. But surely you must have been worried in the back of your mind just about the judging after obviously travelling all that way. She's the darling of Australian boxing right now. And obviously she's undefeated. How nervous were you in those moments waiting for the winner to be announced in the ring?
And it's so crazy because I've been boxing since 2009, right? And I always get butterflies. I always get nervous, but this is the one and only fight where I have never been nervous at all. I think I had a very gruesome 6 weeks of training. I was very hard on myself during my training camp, and it was all because during the fight, I didn't want to have any fears, any doubt, and Through the 6 weeks of me training for the fight, I starved doubt. There was not one day in my training camp where I allowed myself to say, and still the champion, never. Every single day I would say to myself, and the new, and the new. Like there was not one moment out of those 6 weeks I allowed fear or doubt to go in my mind because I knew if it did, I knew I would lose. If I doubted myself even for a moment, I knew that I would lose. So I never doubted myself. I never allowed butterflies to enter my body. I just made sure that there was no negativity around me for those 6 gruesome weeks of training. And so this is the first fight in my life where I had no doubt. I knew that God had prepared this table for me throughout my entire boxing career. I knew that God had placed me here in Australia against the Australian champ to glorify and magnify his name, like David and Goliath. You know, David was a small shepherd boy. Goliath was this big, massive soldier, and no one thought David would win. And he did the unthinkable. He did what many said was impossible. But with God, all things are possible. So I knew that I was going to be the new champion of the world.
And I speak to a hell of a lot of US fighters. I've got a good relationship with a lot of guys and girls as well out there in the States. And I'd heard whispers over the years from these people how good you were. But the opportunities just seemed like they were taking forever to come around for you. I know that you took some of your frustrations to social media before. And again, I've known your name for years. You've now proven, though, that hype was real all along. And I said it the week after the fight. I said, just like that, one night has changed everything. Your name now has been injected into the pool or the hat with the biggest possible fights now that can be made in women's boxing, just like that in one evening. I mean, Skye was very vocal about a fight against Amanda Serrano. Your name is in that hat now, whether people like it or not. It's as simple as that.
Yes, and you know, one night, right? One night is all it takes. One moment in history, 1 minute can change the rest of your life and change the trajectory of your future. And for my entire career, I watched my friends fight for world titles after time, and I never got my shot. And I always said, if someone gives me the opportunity, if someone cracks open a door, I'm going to kick it down, I'm going to knock it down, and then the world will see in the professional stage the same thing I showed the amateur world when I was #1 in the world as an amateur. I just knew once I got my opportunity, I was not going to let it bypass. I was not going to let it slip past me because I knew if I did, I would never get the opportunity again.
And I think a lot of people now, I don't know if you've said this publicly or not just yet. I don't know what you can or can't tell us, but is the rematch next, or can you not say at this stage? A lot of people were expecting there to be, the rematch instantly.
Yeah, there was no rematch clause. I feel that the fight, me personally, I feel that the fight was not split. I think I won unanimously. I don't think Skye really did enough to win rounds like that. I think the Australian judge had it correct, 93-97. But right now, I feel like Skye was my stepping stone. I feel like she was that little thing that I needed to get through the door. And now that I'm through the door, I'm looking to my future. I want to fight the best of the best fighters. I want to fight, for all the belts. I want all the belts so I can sit at the top of the mountain like the great Amanda Serrano has sat at the top of the mountain all these years. I feel like, it's my time to shine and show the world that I am one of the best featherweight boxers in history.
Are there any names on that hit list of yours just yet, or are you keeping your cards close to your chest?
Oh, I'm keeping my cards really close to my chest, but I want to fight the best of the best fighters. Anyone with the belt, I want to be this prize fighters like all the other great fighters are. I want to fight the top names. I want to fight at this weight class and then eventually move up to the next weight class. I just want to push myself to the limit. I want to dream big. I tell all my fighters, dream big, never dream small. And once you accomplish one of your goals, make a bigger one and accomplish that one. And when you accomplish that one, set higher goals, dream big. And that's what I want to do. I'm dreaming big and I'm reaching for the stars.
And Tiara, again, I know this is probably a question that you've been asked probably 10,000 times, but obviously here in the UK, you know, we've heard your story a little bit now, especially with all of the build up to this Skye Nicolson fight. You know, there were a lot of casual fans that were learning things for the first time. But again, I know that you've been asked this a billion times, but your career, obviously as a policewoman for an extended amount of time during your professional career, which is insane. What was that like? And do you have any crazy stories that you can share?
Yeah, I've got plenty crazy stories when it comes to being a police officer. I was a police officer for 7.5 years.
Wow.
While I was an officer in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, I received the highest award, Officer of the Year, out of 3,000 police officers. I love working in law enforcement. It was just the highlight of my life. I like helping people. Um, I miss helping people in the community in that way. But as a coach, you can reach more people, I think, as a mentor. Because at the end of the day, I hate locking people up, taking away their right to freedom. But there are bad people in the world who need to be locked up. And sometimes the wrong person, is at the wrong place at the wrong time. And I hate situations like that. But I have so many crazy stories of being a police officer. But I don't look back and I have no regrets. I love being a law enforcement officer, but boxing is my first passion, first and foremost. And I work a lot with the youth, and so I still feel like I'm still doing community service in that way.
Oh, that's fantastic, Tiara. That really is. I also just want to take a moment as well, just to acknowledge your manager, Brian Cohen. He does so much for women's boxing, and for me, in my opinion, just doesn't receive the proper recognition. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, Brian Cohen, he does a lot for like Split T. Major shout out to Split T. Major shout out to my promoter, OTX. Brian Cohen, he works a lot with the women. He believes in the women's boxing. He was one of the first to believe in women's boxing. There's a lot of managers that don't manage girls, right? There's a lot of managers that will not manage girls. There's a lot of promoters that feel like women still should not box, and that's very unfair. It's 2025. There should be equality for all sports. Men and women should be treated the same. And Brian, he's a shark when it comes to management. He's a shark, and he makes sure that the women are treated fairly, and that we get we get the opportunities, the same opportunities that other people get. And so, major shout out. I take my hats off to Brian Cohen.
Yeah, I echo that. Like I say, I feel like he's doing a lot for women's boxing. Obviously, manages countless female fighters, and it's just a good thing. I just feel like he doesn't get the plaudits sometimes. I've seen him travel to the UK in his fighters' corners in the past, and yeah, just a bit of a moment just to acknowledge him there. My next question, and it's my kind of final real question for you, Tiara. I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here on purpose. I like to ask this question to everyone that I interview from overseas. Favorite UK fighter, if you have one. It can be active, it can be inactive, it can be a fighter from 100 years ago if you wish. But who springs to mind when I ask that question, if you have one?
That's easy. My favorite UK fighter is Savannah Marshall.
Oh, that's a first.
I love Savannah Marshall. Hey, growing up on Team USA, I was friends with a lot of the girls. I would watch their fights, and Savannah Marshall is a fighter. I always watched her fights when I was on Team USA. When we would be in the same arenas, I would make sure that I would always watch her fights, and she would watch me. And I've always appreciated that very much. She's always gave me shout outs on social media. So she is my favorite UK fighter. And then I will also say Caroline Du Bois. I love Caroline Du Bois. I just think they're great people in and outside of the ring. There's not a lot of fighters that you can say do good outside of the ring and inside the ring. And I think that those two women, they focus a lot on their image and making sure that they are positive role models in social media.
That's a really cool answer. I really like the detail that you went into there. Caroline is a friend of the show. She's been on in the past. I've never interviewed Savannah actually, but it was interesting to hear her name said there. Obviously, she's had such a strange career when you think about it. She turned pro
Yes.
with Floyd Mayweather.
Yes.
And then obviously she was, I have to say, I felt quite underimpressive against Clarissa Shields.
Yeah, she really had a bad night then. And in boxing we learned that all it takes is one night to have a not good fight. Whether you didn't perform well. But see, this is the thing about boxing. Unlike a lot of other sports, they're team sports, basketball, soccer, football. They're team sports. You can lay back, you can chill, you can take your foot off the gas because there's team players. There's someone that can always be there to back you up. Boxing, you don't have that. Boxing is just you and your opponent, mano y mano. And if you're not there, you can be in great shape physically, right? But if you are not prepared mentally, you are not going to win the fight. I tell fighters that all the time. You can be in the best shape of your life physically, but if you are not there mentally, you are not going to win the fight.
Yeah, I've heard this said before. A lot of people like to say that boxing is 90% mental, 10% physical.
Yep. I agree with that.
Yeah. Well, just before we wrap things up, Tiara, if you've just got any closing words to the listeners, if you want to sign out with a little message before we let you go, maybe particularly aimed at your UK supporters, which I'm sure have increased over recent weeks, and I've seen that your following count going up and up. It's not stopping just yet. What's your message before we let you go?
My message is thank you everyone who supported me. Thank you for everyone who rooted for the underdog, who believed in me, and I even applaud those that didn't root for me, but they're rooting for me now because now they've seen what I can do. And just for anyone in general who is going through hard times, who is suffering from depression, anxiety, all those things, like just know that if you keep going, if you keep holding your head up high, the road gets better. Don't ever give up on yourself. Don't ever give up on your dream. Even when they seem impossible, they are always possible. And never let anyone tell you you cannot be great. Greatness is within you. Put God first and keep on pushing.
Fantastic words, Tiara. And yeah, I was one of those people that believed you could do it. I'll say this during the interview so listeners can hear. I actually bet on you to win that fight against Skye Nicolson. So
Thank you.
I'm just going to be honest about that. But like I say, I think your future is going to be extremely bright. I cannot wait to see it unfold. The pleasure has been mine. Thank you for your time, and we'll be looking out for an announcement from you soon, and I'm sure we'll speak again then.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.